At 0317 on the morning of November 29, 1944, Commander Joseph Enright carried a quiet burden from earlier patrols, because his missed opportunity against Shokaku remained an unspoken shadow. He approached every evaluation with disciplined restraint, and each reflection deepened his resolve to correct mistakes that weighed heavily on his reputation. Naval officers observed his determined professionalism, although none fully understood how deeply the earlier failure shaped his decisions. Enright reviewed technical manuals repeatedly, and he practiced approach calculations endlessly, ensuring every detail could be executed without hesitation during future confrontations. When Archerfish was assigned to him, he accepted the responsibility calmly, yet his internal expectations tightened with unmistakable intensity. He believed this second chance held profound significance, and he vowed to meet every operational requirement with precise and unwavering commitment. The submarine's crew sensed his seriousness immediately, because his leadership emphasized accuracy, preparation, and continuous discipline. They recognized his determination to rebuild confidence, and they adjusted their routines accordingly, understanding that their performance carried implications far beyond ordinary patrol expectations. Enright spent long evenings studying enemy traffic patterns, and he incorporated intelligence summaries into detailed tactical predictions. Each chart reminded him of previous errors, and each plotted line strengthened his conviction that future engagements demanded absolute clarity, especially when targets of strategic value appeared unexpectedly. During training dives, he insisted on flawless execution, and he corrected even minor misalignments with steady persistence. The crew appreciated his measured tone, and they responded with increasing confidence, creating a disciplined environment where collective purpose overshadowed any lingering uncertainties. He frequently walked Archerfish's narrow passageways thoughtfully, and he examined every compartment with attentive precision. His inspections were calm and methodical, ensuring that every sailor understood the importance of readiness, particularly when facing unpredictable challenges near heavily defended enemy coastlines. Before deployment, he reviewed patrol objectives with careful emphasis, addressing potential scenarios with deliberate clarity. His officers listened closely, and they followed his structured reasoning while recognizing that each explanation carried the weight of personal experience and professional renewal. As Archerfish approached Japanese waters, Enright maintained controlled focus, and he monitored every signal with unwavering patience. His crew matched his discipline, and their synchronized actions reflected the trust gradually formed between a determined commander and an attentive submarine team. Though doubts lingered privately, he used them constructively, transforming past disappointment into forward momentum that strengthened operational precision. With every mile traveled toward danger, he carried the quiet determination to ensure his second chance ended not in regret, but in decisive accomplishment. Shinano's construction began under extraordinary secrecy, because Japanese planners feared American reconnaissance might detect the massive hull's transformation. Workers operated behind screened scaffolding, and they shifted schedules constantly, ensuring no predictable patterns revealed that a former battleship was becoming an unprecedented supercarrier. Originally intended as another Yamato-class battleship, the hull gained new significance after Midway, when carrier losses changed Japan's naval priorities dramatically. Engineers rushed to redesign internal structures, and they adapted armor schemes hastily, creating a hybrid vessel whose immense scale complicated every modification. Shipyard crews worked under intense pressure, because Tokyo demanded rapid progress despite material shortages and dangerous air raids. Construction teams improvised solutions continually, and they modified compartments repeatedly, producing a vessel whose rushed systems lacked the cohesion normally expected in frontline warships. The conversion created enormous logistical challenges, since flight deck integration required extensive structural reinforcement across previously armored surfaces. Designers struggled with load distribution, and they debated every adjustment, recognizing that any miscalculation could threaten stability when the ship encountered operational stresses. As deadlines tightened, quality standards deteriorated, because supervisors prioritized completion speed over thorough testing. Watertight compartments remained unfinished, and inspection crews reported numerous vulnerabilities, creating conditions that later influenced Shinano's disastrous inability to contain progressive flooding. Despite production difficulties, Japanese leaders believed Shinano represented a strategic answer to growing American carrier dominance. They emphasized the ship's armor thickness, and they insisted it could survive enemy attacks. presenting it as an invulnerable symbol of restored maritime strength. When commissioning approached, officers rushed to assemble an inexperienced crew. Because trained personnel were already scarce across the shrinking Imperial Navy, sailors boarded hurriedly, and they received minimal instruction, forcing them to operate unfamiliar systems under stressful and rapidly changing circumstances. Sea trials occurred briefly, because command urgency overshadowed traditional readiness expectations, producing a vessel whose enormous displacement never underwent comprehensive testing. Officers noted mechanical inconsistencies, and they documented stability concerns. Yet every report was overridden in pursuit of immediate deployment. Intelligence fears intensified the schedule further because Japan believed American forces might soon threaten the home islands directly. Shinano's commanders accepted the risk reluctantly, and they prepared to relocate the ship towards safer facilities, hoping vulnerabilities could be corrected after reaching Kure. The carrier departed Yokosuka under a protective screen. Yet uncertainty surrounded every decision, reflecting deep tension between urgency and untested engineering. Hidden construction, accelerated timelines, and incomplete systems combined disastrously, setting conditions for a warship whose immense potential remained overshadowed by dangerous structural compromise. Archerfish patrolled near Tokyo Bay under strict orders, and Commander Enright maintained careful distance while evaluating coastal traffic patterns. He monitored every radar return patiently, and he assessed movements methodically, understanding that any unexpected opportunity could emerge suddenly along the heavily guarded approaches. The crew operated with steady discipline, and they maintained heightened awareness as the submarine approached one of Japan's most fortified maritime regions. Enright balanced caution with determination, and he ensured every lookout remained vigilant, particularly when nightfall increased uncertainty across the shadowed sea lanes. Tokyo Bay's narrow exits demanded precise navigation, and Archerfish maneuvered deliberately while avoiding detection by patrolling destroyers. Enright studied each sonar echo intently, and he interpreted shifting noise signatures carefully, recognizing that misjudging these cues could jeopardize both mission success and crew survival. Patrol expectations were modest initially, and intelligence reports predicted only small auxiliary traffic along the designated zone. However, Enright maintained mental flexibility, and he prepared for anomalies, understanding that wartime desperation often produced unanticipated ship movements regardless of strategic assessments. When a large contact appeared unexpectedly, Archerfish altered course cautiously, and Enright calculated bearing changes with methodical patience. The developing plot suggested significant displacement, and he instructed the crew to maintain silent running, ensuring their approach remained undetected beneath the surrounding darkness. The contact moved slowly toward open waters, and its behavior implied a vessel attempting discreet relocation. Enright evaluated speed variations closely, and he recognized patterns inconsistent with merchant traffic, prompting him to consider that an unusually valuable target might be emerging from Tokyo Bay. Enemy escorts screened the vessel intermittently, and Archerfish maneuvered skillfully to remain outside visual range. Enright coordinated depth adjustments precisely, controlling noise levels while preserving tactical advantage, because any premature detection would eliminate the rare chance unfolding before him. As the silhouette grew clearer, Enright sensed the magnitude of the encounter, and he steadied his thoughts carefully. He cross-referenced the ship's profile against intelligence summaries, noting that its immense scale suggested a high-value warship rather than a conventional support vessel. The crew worked in synchronized silence, and every sailor understood the gravity of the developing situation. Enright emphasized composure repeatedly, guiding his officers through updated position estimates while preparing Archerfish for a prolonged pursuit requiring endurance and flawless coordination. The unexpected contact transformed patrol routine instantly, and Archerfish shifted from cautious observation to high-stakes engagement planning. Enright recognized destiny forming ahead, and he resolved to follow the immense vessel relentlessly, believing this moment could redefine both personal redemption and strategic impact. Archerfish began its prolonged pursuit cautiously, and Commander Enright measured every bearing change carefully as the immense warship maintained unpredictable movements. He instructed his crew to sustain disciplined focus, because any miscalculated adjustment might compromise their developing attack position against the giant carrier. The submarine pushed forward methodically, and Enright balanced speed with stealth while watching the massive silhouette shift steadily across the moonlit horizon. He emphasized patience throughout the crew, because premature aggression could expose their presence and eliminate the narrow advantage slowly forming ahead. Japanese escorts patrolled erratically around the carrier, and Archerfish wove between distant radar sweeps while maintaining an unbroken track on the target. Enright calculated each maneuver precisely, because positioning required subtle angles that allowed pursuit without attracting the attention of vigilant enemy lookouts. Surface conditions favored the chase slightly, and Archerfish used the darkness to conceal its profile against scattered reflections along the sea. Enright maintained consistent power settings because controlling engine noise ensured the submarine remained undetected while matching the carrier's fluctuating speed across open waters. Hours passed steadily, and Archerfish's crew worked without interruption while updating plotting boards that documented every small change in the carrier's course. Enright studied emerging patterns carefully, because repeated heading shifts revealed vulnerabilities that could determine where a future torpedo approach might succeed. The submarine remained surfaced intentionally, and Enright accepted the risk because greater speed allowed him to close distance gradually on the massive vessel. He monitored atmospheric clarity constantly, because shifting weather conditions could reveal their silhouette unexpectedly or disrupt accurate range estimation during the pursuit. Japanese escorts drifted unpredictably, and Archerfish maintained wide separation while shadowing the formation's outer edges with disciplined precision. Enright navigated cautiously between distant propeller signatures, because avoiding unnecessary noise ensured their survival as the carrier transitioned steadily toward deeper ocean waters. Each hour intensified the strategic tension, and Enright refined his calculations repeatedly while preparing for the narrow window required to launch an effective attack. He trusted his crew completely, because mastered procedures were essential when maneuvering a submarine against a hastily commissioned giant escorted by alert destroyers. The carrier's speed eventually stabilized, and Archerfish shifted gently into a more favorable trailing angle, while preserving vital distance from hostile patrol patterns. Enright recognized the opportunity developing slowly, because natural movements finally aligned to offer an approach corridor suitable for executing a decisive torpedo strike. As dawn neared quietly, the 6-hour pursuit reached its pivotal moment, and Archerfish prepared for the transition from shadowing to engagement. Enright steadied his thoughts deliberately, because the upcoming decision would determine whether his relentless patience transformed into history's greatest submarine victory. Archerfish closed into attack position carefully, and Commander Enright reviewed every bearing adjustment with unwavering concentration as the colossal carrier maintained steady forward motion. He instructed his crew to remain silent, because even minor disturbances could reveal their presence during the critical moments preceding the torpedo launch. Inside the control room, tension built steadily, and sailors monitored instruments closely while relaying precise measurements essential for accurate targeting. Enright compared each new data point meticulously, and he refined his firing solution continuously, ensuring every variable aligned perfectly before committing to the attack. Range estimates fluctuated slightly, and Enright stabilized calculations by integrating consistent periscope observations with repeated sonar readings. He maintained calm authority throughout the evolving situation, and he reassured his officers with steady explanations that emphasized disciplined reasoning rather than rushed decision-making. The carrier's sheer size demanded exceptional precision, because its armored compartments required optimal angles for effective torpedo penetration. Enright adjusted course deliberately, and he ensured Archerfish's alignment produced a favorable impact trajectory, recognizing that accuracy would determine whether the attack succeeded or merely wounded the massive target. Crew members held their breath quietly, and they followed each order with synchronized focus while preparing the torpedo tubes. Enright verified depth settings repeatedly, and he reminded the team that environmental conditions could influence performance, particularly when firing against an enormous vessel protected by reinforced plating. Moments passed with increasing intensity, and Enright studied the carrier's profile carefully as shadows shifted across its towering hull. He waited for the ideal intersecting point, and he resisted premature action, understanding that patience often defines successful outcomes during high-risk submarine engagements near hostile waters. When calculations finally aligned, Enright issued the firing commands decisively, and 6 torpedoes left their tubes with controlled precision. The crew felt the vibrations immediately, and they listened tensely as each weapon began its deadly trajectory toward the vulnerable sections. beneath the carrier's armored belt. Archerfish dove swiftly afterward, and Enright ordered silent running to avoid detection by nearby escorts reacting to unexpected disturbances. He relied on sonar exclusively, and he tracked the torpedo's progress with measured expectation, understanding that success depended entirely on the accuracy established during earlier calculations. Seconds stretched heavily, and tension filled the control room as distant detonations erupted sequentially across the carrier's hull. 4 impacts registered clearly, and Enright recognized instantly that the perfect spread had struck critical compartments, creating structural damage capable of overwhelming even a heavily armored supercarrier. Despite growing danger, the crew maintained discipline, and Enright preserved composure while preparing for enemy countermeasures triggered by the devastating attack. His flawless firing solution validated years of effort, and he understood their achievement marked a turning point destined to echo across naval history. 4 torpedoes slammed into Shinano's hull violently, and each detonation tore through vulnerable sections weakened by incomplete construction. Explosive force ruptured bulkheads instantly, and cascading shockwaves reverberated throughout the massive carrier, creating structural failures that spread faster than the inexperienced crew could register. Flooding began immediately, and water surged through compartments that lacked fully sealed watertight integrity due to rushed wartime modifications. Damaged valves jammed unpredictably, and critical pumps malfunctioned quickly, leaving officers unable to contain incoming seawater that poured across multiple decks simultaneously. The carrier's immense size offered little protection, because internal pathways created unchecked routes for rapid flooding. Improvised reinforcement beams buckled under extreme pressure, and welded seams failed catastrophically, allowing entire sections to collapse as seawater overwhelmed structural support systems designed hastily during the ship's conversion. Damage control teams scrambled desperately, and they attempted to deploy emergency shoring while struggling with poor training and limited coordination. Panic spread subtly, and communication breakdowns worsened steadily, making it increasingly difficult to direct coherent responses across the ship's sprawling and chaotic interior. Engineers attempted to isolate damaged compartments, and they worked frantically to restore stability amid rising water levels. However, incomplete diagrams complicated their efforts, and confusion over modified spaces left teams unable to locate critical valves essential for preventing deeper structural flooding. As water reached engineering spaces, vital machinery began failing rapidly, and electrical systems flickered before short-circuiting entirely. Pumps lost power quickly, and generators sputtered under mounting strain, creating a cascading engineering failure that stripped the carrier of essential operational control. Shinano's list increased steadily, and crew members struggled to maintain footing while navigating darkened corridors filled with swirling debris. With every minute, flooding intensified further, and the ship's massive displacement offered no advantage because internal compartment weaknesses magnified every incoming surge. Command officers attempted to rally damage control teams, and they issued hurried orders while assessing the deteriorating situation from increasingly unstable positions. Efforts to counter-flood compartments proved ineffective, and the rapid spread of water eliminated any remaining hope of restoring the carrier's balance. The ship's speed decreased sharply, and propulsion failures left Shinano drifting helplessly as bow sections dipped dangerously closer toward the sea. Escort vessels observed the worsening conditions silently, and they prepared for rescue operations as the supercarrier's fate became unmistakably certain. Within hours, accumulated flooding overwhelmed every remaining support structure, and Shinano's hull succumbed to unstoppable internal collapse. The once mighty supercarrier rolled fatally and slipped beneath the waves, leaving a churning expanse of debris that marked the end of Japan's largest and most secretive warship. Chaos swept across Shinano almost immediately, and untrained sailors struggled to understand the scale of destruction spreading beneath their feet. Darkness filled corridors quickly, and disorganized voices echoed through flooding compartments, creating overwhelming confusion that prevented coordinated responses during the carrier's rapidly deteriorating situation. Damage control teams attempted to mobilize, yet their limited preparation left them uncertain about procedures essential for containing structural failures. Many compartments lacked clear diagrams, and modified spaces created disorientation, forcing teams to navigate unfamiliar layouts while seawater surged relentlessly through compromised bulkheads. Officers shouted conflicting orders, And overloaded communication systems amplified the confusion as personnel attempted to report flooding across multiple decks. Miscommunication slowed vital responses, and incorrect instructions frequently directed sailors toward already lost compartments, delaying efforts that required immediate and precise execution. Training deficiencies became painfully evident, and inexperienced crew members hesitated during tasks demanding rapid judgment under extreme pressure. Their uncertainty spread quickly, and hesitation undermined vital procedures, particularly when sealing hatches or deploying critical reinforcement equipment designed to stabilize damaged areas temporarily. In several sections, watertight doors failed to close properly, and inexperienced operators struggled with warped frames weakened by rushed construction. Water forced its way through imperfect seals, and each failure accelerated Shinano's internal collapse, reducing chances for effective containment before flooding overwhelmed critical systems. Engine rooms faced mounting catastrophe, and crew members worked frantically around failing pumps that sputtered unpredictably. Electrical panels short-circuited violently, and sparks illuminated dim spaces briefly before plunging teams back into darkness, hindering attempts to control expanding flooding beneath the massive carrier. Efforts to establish central coordination faltered, and officers attempted to regroup amid worsening structural instability. Conflicting assessments plagued their decisions, and lack of standardized training across newly assembled personnel limited their ability to implement consistent measures capable of slowing water infiltration. Some teams attempted manual reinforcement, yet they lacked proper materials and struggled with unfamiliar equipment installed hurriedly during the ship's final construction phase. Their persistence could not compensate for systemic weaknesses, and each improvised solution collapsed quickly under intensifying hydraulic pressure. As flooding reached ammunition storage areas, panic intensified, and sailors feared secondary explosions that could hasten the ship's destruction. Officers attempted to maintain composure, and they redirected manpower towards stabilizing critical zones, but overwhelming water pressure eliminated any possibility of sustained defense. By the time rescue efforts became necessary, internal order had nearly vanished, and the crew confronted reality with growing despair. Their inexperience, combined with incomplete construction and chaotic damage control responses, ensured Shinano's fate, sealing the doomed carrier's place in naval history. Archerfish plunged into deeper water immediately, and Commander Enright ordered silent running as enemy destroyers converged rapidly toward the torpedo impact location. The crew steadied their breathing in darkness, and they followed every instruction carefully, understanding that discipline alone determined survival during the urgent nighttime escape. Destroyers swept overhead relentlessly, and their propellers produced vibrating echoes that rolled across Archerfish's tense control room. Enright analyzed each bearing change calmly, and he adjusted depth gradually, ensuring the submarine remained beneath hostile search patterns while avoiding sudden movements that might reveal their hidden position. Sonar operators listened intently, and they interpreted every metallic ping with focused precision as enemy vessels intensified their search. Enright relied on their assessments completely, and he navigated through shifting acoustic corridors carefully, knowing each adjustment could determine whether Archerfish evaded destruction that night. Pressure increased steadily as Archerfish descended, and hull plates groaned under expanding weight while the crew maintained unwavering composure. Enright monitored depth gauges closely, and he balanced safety with concealment, choosing positions where enemy sonar signals weakened significantly while minimizing risks associated with deeper underwater currents. Above them, destroyers dropped depth charges methodically, and violent detonations echoed through the submarine's structure repeatedly. Enright absorbed each shock silently, and he ensured the crew remained calm, allowing consistent procedural focus to guide their reactions through the rising intensity of nighttime pursuit. The crew shut down non-essential systems promptly, and electrical teams maintained minimal power output to reduce acoustic signatures. Enright emphasized absolute quiet, and he coordinated timing with sonar operators carefully, ensuring movement occurred only when enemy vessels drifted beyond their most sensitive detection ranges. Hours passed slowly, and the ocean around Archerfish vibrated with intermittent explosions that distorted sonar readings. Enright studied every shifting pattern patiently, and he directed incremental course adjustments, guiding the submarine along routes where underwater terrain complicated enemy tracking efforts considerably throughout the tense escape. Destroyers eventually shifted patrol formations, and their search grids expanded outward cautiously as uncertainty replaced earlier aggression. Enright recognized diminishing pressure gradually, and he instructed his officers to maintain restraint, ensuring Archerfish remained undetected while enemy calculations drifted steadily away from the submarine's concealed location. Crew exhaustion deepened noticeably, yet discipline never faltered, and sailors continued monitoring instruments with unwavering precision. Enright allowed no complacency, and he reinforced focus repeatedly, knowing a single miscalculation could bring enemy guns crashing down upon their vulnerable position. When distant engines finally faded, Archerfish held depth carefully, and Enright waited until conditions stabilized completely before ordering a cautious ascent. The crew's endurance, combined with his measured leadership, preserved their escape, marking conclusion to the longest and most dangerous night of their extraordinary patrol. March 4, 1944, aboard USS Enterprise. Analysts gathered to review combat footage revealing an astonishingly precise engagement defying established expectations that day. Senior officers reviewed the engagement closely, recognizing how the improbable kill exposed crucial vulnerabilities, inspiring renewed commitment toward comprehensive doctrinal adjustments ahead. Initial reports reached Pacific headquarters swiftly, highlighting how the astonishing strike challenged entrenched expectations, reshaping understanding about achievable accuracy under combat pressure. Commanders acknowledged tactical implications immediately, noting that the pilot's instinctive maneuver showcased innovative methods potentially enabling broader exploitation across dynamic operational circumstances. Technical teams scrutinized recovered data meticulously, determining that subtle aerodynamic advantages contributed significantly toward the unprecedented hit achieved under constrained engagement conditions. Engineers emphasized adaptable design lessons, asserting that incremental modifications could enhance stability, allowing pilots greater control during unpredictable encounters involving vector changes. Intelligence officers reviewed related engagements closely, discovering consistent patterns among experienced aviators confronting unexpected opportunities, requiring immediate exploitation through yet calculated maneuvers. Their conclusions shaped strategic planning, ensuring leadership recognized critical variables influencing pilot behavior under various stressors encountered throughout evolving theater conditions combat. Fleet instructors integrated findings promptly, emphasizing how disciplined situational awareness empowered aviators to transform chances into decisive outcomes under demanding operational constraints. Training programs adapted simulation procedures, creating immersive scenarios designed to reinforce instinctive decision-making influenced by rare yet instructive battlefield anomalies for aviators. Operational planners evaluated communication procedures thoroughly, concluding streamlined information channels enhanced coordination, enabling responsive actions whenever unconventional opportunities emerged unexpectedly during engagements. They recommended refined reporting standards, ensuring critical observations reached decision-makers quickly, thereby strengthening institutional learning through systematic incorporation of verified frontline experiences. Aviation historians documented the incident comprehensively, asserting that the extraordinary kill represented an inflection point revealing underestimated pilot capabilities during wartime experimentation. Their analysis emphasized technological evolution, illustrating how incremental advancements combined with human adaptability created exceptional moments capable of reshaping future aviation doctrine. Surviving crew members offered measured testimonies, describing how collective discipline supported the pilot's split-second judgment despite overwhelming uncertainty surrounding unexpected engagement dynamics. Their accounts enriched official archives, preserving essential human context enabling later analysts to interpret operational decisions accurately within broader strategic frameworks effectively. Strategic committees addressed institutional shortcomings directly, proposing comprehensive reforms ensuring future aviators received improved guidance enabling effective action whenever improbable situations emerged. Leadership endorsed these recommendations quickly, recognizing that adaptable doctrine required continuous refinement shaped by rare events, revealing overlooked tactical possibilities for aviators. Ultimately, the Navy codified essential lessons formally, demonstrating commitment toward preserving insights derived from the unprecedented kill while reinforcing vigilance across conditions. These measures ensured lasting recognition, highlighting how one extraordinary moment reshaped doctrine and strengthened collective resolve throughout the fleet. During wartime operations, The sinking of Shinano remains a defining moment in naval history, demonstrating how meticulous planning, human ingenuity, and technical precision can enable a relatively small submarine to overcome a seemingly insurmountable target with devastating efficiency and lasting strategic impact. Commander Enright's actions exemplified leadership under extreme pressure, showing how confidence, patience, and tactical foresight can leverage available resources to produce results far beyond what conventional expectations would allow, inspiring generations of submariners to pursue excellence regardless of the odds stacked against them. Archerfish's successful attack fundamentally altered naval strategy, proving that large capital ships were no longer invulnerable to underwater threats. Planners worldwide had to reconsider fleet formations, escort requirements, and defensive doctrine, shifting the balance of power towards submarines as decisive tools in both offensive and deterrent naval operations. The technical execution of the mission highlighted the importance of crew training, torpedo reliability, and sonar navigation, reinforcing that a submarine's effectiveness depended as much on human skill as on mechanical innovation. With lessons applied to future vessel design, combat protocols, and tactical doctrines across multiple navies, Shinano's sinking forced navies to invest heavily in damage control, compartmentalization, and rapid response drills, recognizing that inexperienced crews and incomplete systems could amplify vulnerability. Modern vessels continue to integrate redundancy and emergency protocols, inspired by lessons learned from such catastrophic failures during World War II engagements. Strategically, the attack emphasized the value of intelligence, reconnaissance, and careful target selection. Archerfish's success was not accidental. It resulted from analyzing movement patterns, assessing risk, and patiently waiting for the optimal strike window, demonstrating the enduring principle that information superiority is crucial in undersea warfare. The psychological effect on enemy forces was profound, as the sinking shattered assumptions about invincibility and forced reassessments of fleet morale, defensive strategies, and operational confidence. This aspect continues to influence naval training, emphasizing the interplay between tactical capability and psychological resilience under threat from unseen adversaries. Modern submarine doctrine incorporates endurance, stealth, and precision targeting, all of which trace conceptual roots to Enright's mission. His use of calculated patience, environmental awareness, and measured aggression serves as a foundational case study in balancing risk and opportunity in high-stakes naval operations. Shinano's sinking remains the benchmark for submarine efficacy, inspiring technical innovation and strategic thinking. It underlies that even the largest and most formidable warships are vulnerable when human skill, ingenuity, and strategic timing converge, reinforcing the principle that submarines can decisively shape maritime conflicts. Ultimately, the legacy of Archerfish and Shinano underscores that warfare is an interplay of technology, training, and human judgment. Lessons learned continue to guide submarine strategy, vessel design, and naval doctrine, ensuring that the story of November 29, 1944, remains a timeless reference point for undersea combat effectiveness and innovation.